everybody to the pilot episode of, what are we calling this? What did we say?
Tales
from the Humidor.
Yeah.
I'm already lost. Anyhow, this is an impromptu video cast podcast, have you may. We're going to bring in different guests. We're going to smoke cigars. We're going to talk about things that hopefully you find interesting, entertaining, informative. If you don't, tune out. If you do, tune in. My name's Coby Frier. I own Tennessee Avenue Tobacco Company here in Atlantic City, and I'm here with my impromptu guest that just came in for a cigar, and I snagged him, Michael Atkins, the Executive Director from the Atlantic City Arts Foundation.
Howdy, folks.
Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Cody, for having me. It's an honor to be in the first one.
It's Coby. Let's get this straight first.
Yeah, let's cut, start again.
Let's just keep going. That's fine. Anyhow, we're going to be smoking the Didier Joseph from Didier Cigars out of Nicaragua. Again, our first sponsor is Tennessee Avenue Tobacco Company. Thank you, Tennessee Avenue Tobacco Company. Thank you, me. And let's get this started. Atlantic City Arts Foundation is something that I've heard about. I'm a resident of Atlantic City for years in and around Atlantic City. I live in Ventnor, but everybody kind of knows what the Atlantic City Arts Foundation is, but nobody really knows what the Atlantic City Arts Foundation is. And just by chance, Michael Atkins stopped in, so we're going to smoke cigars, and Michael's going to talk a little bit about what he does.
That's great.
I'm going to light us up first, Michael.
You got it.
So, how long have you been with the Atlantic City Arts Foundation, and what is it, and what's your mission?
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on the first episode. I'm fresh on the job. I started September 1st. Today is October 31st. I stopped in here today because I saw there was a great special going on. I'm a novice getting into cigars, and I really like that it's a welcoming atmosphere at Tennessee Avenue Tobacco to ask questions and learn about cigars. I smoke tobacco, but I would like to get into cigars. But I came here today after the unveiling of the 101st mural in the city of Atlantic City. This mural is called Beneath the Waves. It was painted by lead artist Susan Daly at the Hot Bagels shop.
Which
is a great business. If you are a local, if you're a tourist, you probably have frequented one of the Hot Bagels locations. And this one is right by the lighthouse in the inlet neighborhood of Atlantic City. And this was, thank you very much.
Now let me say, this first video cast, what are we calling this? A show, a podcast?
Podcast.
That's my social media director, Johnny, in the background, producer, director, editor, everything. We're calling it a podcast?
Podcast.
Okay. It's going to suck. But
it's going to be great.
We're going to embrace the suck for a while until we get used
to it. That's why it's going to be great.
And that's why I just figured I'd will Michael in, because as much as I like hearing myself talk, 10 minutes with Michael, I realize he likes hearing himself talk too, so I figure it's a good match. So, Hot Bagels. 101st
mural. So I started in September, and we just worked on our 101st, and prior to that, our 100th mural. And that's what Atlantic City Arts Foundation is most known for, probably to the public community, which is promoting public arts, commissioning artworks throughout the city. These were great milestones to hit for us as an organization. And both of the lead artists for the 100th and 101st were really exceptional individuals to work with. Beneath the Waves at Hot Bagels shows the different marine life that are local to this area. The fish that we eat, some of the critters that you don't like to step on in the ocean, and also the large mammals that we seek to protect. The 100th mural is actually just across the street here at Cardinal Restaurant, and that was lead artist Manuela Guillen, and her message with her mural, Always Dreaming, Always Growing, was that there's a garden here that we're nourishing. There's a really rich ecosystem of art and people in Atlantic City. She was someone who was local, worked in casinos, became an established artist, and came back to deliver that 100th mural. So those are two recent projects that I invite anyone who's visiting to check out.
Okay, and what's your future mission? What's the future look like for Atlantic City Arts Foundation?
Well, I've really sought to emphasize in the time that I've been on the position that it's a really great opportunity in hitting these milestones to take stock, listen, to dream together a little bit, and workshop what ideas we can add to the arts community in Atlantic City. I myself am someone who's worked at nonprofits for a long time, but I love the arts. I love living in a community that respects the arts, and so I'd like to see us grow into additional public art installations, more murals, but potentially embracing sculptures and perhaps performance art presentations and film screenings. Those are all things that I think would benefit the city to have more opportunities to access.
So beautification of the city, because as we started talking, as this popped up, this podcast idea popped up, we were talking about how, let's face it, the city is, like a lot of cities around the country, are on a decline. People are moving back to the suburbs. People are embracing the small town environment. And Atlantic City, people think it's a city, but it's really only 48 blocks, and it is a small town. And there's a lot of infighting in the city. There has been for years, and there's an old saying, a rising tide sails all ships, and that's what Michael and I were talking about, how all nonprofits, all businesses, everybody needs to really work together to help us all rise. And the city is so rich in culture and rich in background and rich in diversity. We all need to embrace that diversity instead of just relying strictly on casino business or tourism coming to the city to go throw some money in a slot machine and get on a bus and go home. We have world-class restaurants.
100%.
We have world-class artists. We have world-class cigar lounges with world-class cigars. Shameless little plug here. We've got great coffee. How's the coffee?
The coffee is
by the way?
fantastic. Yeah.
The coffee at Tennessee Avenue is stellar. Thank you, Donato from Donato's Coffee.
Well, I believe that Atlantic City has a lot of things going for it. It's still, I've been living in Atlantic City for a few years since moving back to New Jersey before taking this position.
Let me interrupt you real quick. Sorry about that.
You're fine.
So, again, why Atlantic City? We talk, what's your background? Where have you been? Where did you start? What's your journey then?
I'm South Jersey native. I grew up in Gloucester County, New Jersey. I have family ties. My dad, my godfather had different parts of their lives were based in Atlantic City. I went to college in New York City. I lived in Los Angeles for years too, so about 15 years between New York and LA. And then in the pandemic, I got that, hometown blues a little bit. I knew I needed to kind of reimagine my next phase of life. I wanted to move back to New Jersey, be closer to my parents. And so I was searching for a place to live that had a walkable community, had interesting nightlife, had cool restaurants, had creative types of people, of which Atlantic City quickly flows to the top of the list, and then you add in an ocean and a beach that you can enjoy, all year round.
See, living here, I don't even focus on those assets.
Yeah.
It becomes like, we have so many assets that I know of, but it's just become general where I expect it, I don't appreciate it. Where it's just something that we have, and we tend to focus, people that have been here for a long time, focus on the negatives and focus on the safety issues and the crime and things like that, and negativity grows like a cancer. So it was nice talking to you when we started talking, when we struck up the conversation, because you've got a fresh approach, and it's the approach that I want to see, and it's the approach that's going to bring us to the next level.
There aren't a lot of cities in South Jersey.
It's amazing that you look at it that way.
And that this is a city, and it has those foundational bones and that skeleton structure is, I think, why areas like the Orange Loop see multiple businesses opening, and that critical mass can form when you have enough people to patronize places and support your favorite chefs, your favorite shops, etc. Now
I'm going to jump all over. The Orange Loop you mentioned. For those that don't know what the Orange Loop is, Atlantic City is the home of Monopoly. The Monopoly game that you played as a kid is from Atlantic City, and each street represents a street in Atlantic City, and the orange blocks are this area of Tennessee Avenue, New York Avenue. I think they just added Kentucky Avenue as part of the Orange Loop. And I'm going to totally go off base here. Do you think the Orange Loop is the right way to market Atlantic City? Do you think people even give a shit about Monopoly anymore?
I definitely had a Monopoly phase on my iPhone in the pandemic. I played a lot of it, and there's something fitting about the orange pieces because they're the most commonly landed upon squares in the entire game.
So I didn't know
Did you
that.
not know that?
No,
Yeah.
I did not know
The most
that.
common thing that occurs in Monopoly is that you roll a 6, 7, or 8 out of prison, the jail,
Okay.
and that's the Orange Loop. So those are they're the most commonly landed upon places, right? There are cheaper properties and there are more expensive properties on the Monopoly board, but this is a fitting area to see, like I mentioned, critical mass, or at least a density of opportunities to go out, get a bite to
all
eat.
these years and I didn't even know
There
that.
you
That's
go.
awesome.
So yeah, so you might be lethal next time you play Monopoly if
I'll
you
tell you, I
focus on
haven't
the
played
orange.
Monopoly in probably 50 years, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. But I think that is a good place to start. This is a lot of the businesses here weren't born last night, but are new businesses, 21st century, and there's also a blend to things that have been around for a long time here too. I do love the Irish pub, and I think there's a really exciting thing in Atlantic City where some things are open and continuous from the 1920s, and some things open in the 2020s, and they coexist on a block together. And as an individual, I have the benefits of a century of different businesses and families that have been trying to deliver craft to their patrons.
So being, I'll say, well-traveled, because you've lived in New York City, which is the hub of the world, let's say, and LA, which is another hub of the world hub. Your journey is probably way more than most of the people around here,
Sure.
around Atlantic City. What's your journey been like? What did you do? You went to college in New York. Where did you go to school?
Went to NYU.
NYU and graduated?
And I lived 2010, and
Okay.
I lived in Brooklyn for part of those times.
For the resurgence of Brooklyn, where?
I mean, in some way, yeah, I lived in East Williamsburg. I mean, neighborhoods I couldn't afford now, for sure. And my first career after college was in television production.
Okay.
I had a penchant. I studied history, so I was very good at finding archival images of different. I mean, this was when the History Channel still had history programming. I was in the last era there. But then I also kind of came up through, after the recession, reality television was very popular. So there was a lot of funding for that type of work. And I spent over half a decade in multimedia production with New York production companies. And that gave me.
With Left Right TV?
I actually didn't work directly with them, but I think that my brother did work
Really?
with Left Right.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do not have to look that up. What was their
Left
major
Right
programs?
TV did Mob Wives. They did The Circus. They did a lot of reality shows with
Yeah.
Left Right TV. I had a show on production with them about Atlantic City. They went to the Sizzle, did a Sizzle reel at the event down in Washington, D.C. They ended up shelving it, and then Atlantic City changed too much, and they didn't want to
Yeah.
air it. But like I said, we filmed for a few months. They were here consistently. It was an idea. I pitched them, and
Cool.
and they bought it. So I got paid, but nobody else did. But
Well,
it was cool. But that's what Left
stalled
Right
in
TV.
development
Yeah,
though.
Left-
That was it was a little bit of a Wild West
That is
time.
so cool.
Yeah. It was it was an exciting time because a lot of television networks were instructing production companies to take chances and try different things. So I traveled different places. I traveled a lot to Florida in that time period. Did a lot of interesting stuff, and that really helped me round out some of my passions. Growing up, I was a public educated kid and was a part of all of the marching band and theater and choir, and so working in television was the ability to tap into the things that I got interested in high school. But yeah, I've also always been I've always tried to be active in the communities that I lived in New York and Los Angeles, and through those journeys, I moved to LA, and by the time that I was there, I started to really plug into my neighborhood. What were the needs in East Hollywood where I lived?
And what were you doing in Hollywood?
I moved. I followed a woman.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. That's a whole nother podcast, though. But
Aspiring actress? Or?
no.
Okay.
But I was. I also wanted to live in California. I think that was also part of it too. That I felt growing up that if I could see New York for 5 years and LA for 5 years, I would know a thing. I learned I don't know the thing, but I did follow that strategy, and it has given me a well-rounded life, and I still have great friends who are in Los Angeles and Brooklyn who I talk to on a regular basis.
And that's awesome, because a lot of the people in this area, what I've noticed is they really, I'll call it an island, Atlantic City.
It is an island, yeah.
It is an island, and people don't leave. They're born here, they stay here, and their vision of what's outside here clouds them because they only know what's here. So to bring somebody in with a fresh idea and fresh look, and it's been placed, I think it can be huge for Atlantic City. So I'm really, like I said, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, no pun intended. You coming in here today was kind of like, I got to look at the camera, see? Johnny with the direction over there.
Yeah.
Anyhow, you coming in here today to purchase cigars and learn about cigars is actually, I'm the one that's learning. So
so part of why I came in, a few different stories at once, but I have seen your pop-up. Would you call that a mobile lounge? And I've purchased a cigar here and there last summer and this summer. I visited you at the Down Beach Seafood Festival, and ask more questions
John
about this.
Henderson, Down Beach Seafood Festival.
Great festival, and you have great, knowledgeable staff. I smoke tobacco, so coming in and saying, all right, I've tried a few cigars, I'm trying to find my way. And one of my dear friends in Los Angeles has also been on the cigar journey, and so I've been sending him your content here and there, and saying like, oh, I'm gonna get in. I've been meaning to come to the lounge. I've been meaning to come over here, buy a few cigars, and send emails. And that's kind of what I had the afternoon. That's what I fit into my agenda today, and that's
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll definitely be back.
By the way, what do you think of this cigar?
This is great.
DDA Cigars, DDA out of Nicaragua, Miami, Nicaragua. In my opinion, the finest cigar in the world.
It has a sweetness to it, which I really can appreciate.
What else? What else can we expect? Because we're gonna keep this. What's that, Johnny? Director?
Stop looking at me. Look at the camera.
Okay. Again, this is the first episode. We're gonna screw up. We're gonna fuck up. We're gonna do things that aren't normal, and we'll get better. I'm gonna embrace the suck. I'm looking at you again. So we're gonna embrace the suck. Anyhow, I'm looking at the camera. I'm looking at Michael.
Yeah.
So, tell us more about what we can do with the Atlantic City.
Well, what I wanted, part of what also got our conversation going too, was just sharing. Like I said, I have a perspective that is fresh, but also is very tied to South Jersey and is very loyal to New Jersey. And I want to just convey that to you and to other people in Atlantic City, that people are excited about what is possible in Atlantic City. We can sometimes, like you said, focus on some of the negative aspects that need to be addressed. It's not to overlook them, but this is still a community that is an exciting city. There are great places if you wanted to screen a film or to play experimental jazz music. And I want to be an ambassador not just for our artists and community from Atlantic City, but of the city to those types of musicians and artists who want to come and experiment or produce a show. So I'd really like to, over time, and take the next year to try and show and incubate different types of art that we can support. That could be performance, could be visual arts, and really try to fill additional gaps and to work with other entities in the city to make sure that they have exciting programs, interesting artists, and that those who might be local know that stuff is coming, and to go and support it when it comes to town, or someone who is local who's looking to step up to their next thing. I think that there's a very important and reverent duty for the Arts Foundation that I take seriously. Of we have a number of talented artists here who need solo shows and group shows, and we should find them gallery space and work with them. I have worked for 8 years in nonprofits as a communications director, so I'm very adept at writing press releases and artist statements and editing, and really working with the artists to round out the things beyond their visual art to support them and their art career. So I really want to be an advocate for our local artists there and bring audience to them.
How about a jazz night here?
You tell me when.
Jazz, cigars.
You tell me when.
What do you think, Johnny?
We have a stage for it.
We have a stage, exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, it'd be cool because nobody's doing it.
I would agree.
Introduce some people to cigars, introduce some people to jazz, introduce people to young artists. I would love to host stuff like that.
I love jazz music, so I'm already on the hook. But I think that is also the type of thing that that the pandemic has shown as well. We think about city redevelopment, we think about placemaking, but the artistic community was hit very hard by the inability to produce musical shows and museum closures. So we are existing as the Arts Foundation at a time where we want to support people coming back to live performance. I think that's in the depths of not being able to leave my apartment. That was one of the things I missed most, was being able to sit in a room, sit in a business not larger than yours, and listen to 2 or 3 musicians literally blow their air through a horn. That's a very special thing to experience live.
Also, the human touch is so important. That was taken away from us during the pandemic, and human beings need the human touch. So we could even start, immediately, start with one person in the audience. It'll grow to 2, grow to 3. I'm not looking for anything. I would just let this place be used as a venue to experiment with.
I think that just requires getting in touch a bit with figuring out who the jazz combos are out there that are local and willing. But yeah, I think that's a key thing is consistency. That's another, as you know, we feel this if you live locally. You know, whether XYZ festival is occurring each year or not, you know, really trying to make sure that things aren't one-offs in Atlantic City is key.
I always my statement is always the only thing consistent here is inconsistency. Yeah. And consistency is what builds business. It's what builds culture. Having consistent programming.
100%.
And because what happens is people want as a rule, human nature is immediate gratification. And if they don't achieve immediate gratification, they abandon the project. Oh, that doesn't work. That doesn't work here in Atlantic City, I hear over and over again. But let's give it a try.
I think there's a really key, again, from living in places that have notable art communities that people travel to and move to experience. You know, it's important that if you miss something this Thursday, because everyone has something in life,
right?
That's not the only time. That you could come back next month or next week and that there's a similar opportunity. And if you only, that's just a goal of mine for the Arts Foundation as well, is we have a handful of very large signature projects and programs, but we should also be known as an organization that at least once a month you can come experience something. So yeah, if you are busy in school or you're at a family function in October, there's another thing in November that you would be able to experience with us. That would expand your appreciation for the arts.
Now, one thing people will say when we're talking about doing something at a cigar lounge, they'll say, the smoke, the secondhand smoke, the tobacco. How do you find the smoke in here?
I mean, I feel quite comfortable.
It is, and again, this is a little shameless plug. We have a state-of-the-art air filtration system in here. Our air handlers, we have 6. That each handle 1,200 square foot, and the whole building's only 1,200 square foot. So literally, you could balance a baby on your knee, and the baby won't be affected by the smoke. So if you're worried about, if you don't want to smoke cigars and come see an event, or hang out with a friend that wants to smoke cigars, this is a great place for it. So,
I mean, also not every event needs to be for everyone. I would also say that too, which is, I think that it's good to promote opportunities for musicians, and I'm sure that you'll find ones that are happy for the opportunity to present themselves, and it doesn't, what one place doesn't subtract from another.
Okay.
If our journey is to make sure that there's more opportunities.
That's such a fresh attitude. It's actually refreshing to hear this. Like, really, it is. If you don't know the Atlantic City Arts Foundation, you should definitely check into it, find out. Now, how can somebody get involved?
You're teeing me up perfectly. So our website is AtlanticCityArtsFoundation.org.
Say that again.
AtlanticCityArtsFoundation.org. That's our website. My email is also open and available to the public, Michael@AtlanticCityArtsFoundation.org. When I took the position in September, I was very earnest in saying, if you've got ideas that you want to share with us, or want to make sure that you're on our mailing lists, send us a message. We're happy to rope you into it. And yeah, we're at a phase now of the organization has existed for just shy of 10 years, achieved 100 murals, 101st just unveiled today. So it's a good time to take stock of what else is needed in the city and how we can contribute to it.
Okay. Well, that was our first episode. Do you have anything more to add? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're perfectly fine.
Like I said, this was just a great impromptu podcast. We got Bruno, the cigar dog, our German Shepherd that hangs out here, just popped in to say hello. I don't know if you can see him on the camera or not. No, you can't. You can probably hear him walking around. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Michael Atkins, thank you for being our first guest.
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully it wasn't painful for you.
No, and thank you for welcoming me. I look forward to coming and frequenting your business. And
come anytime.
It's great.
Doors. I'll give you a key if you want.
All right.
Yeah. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.